What's up, you guys? It's Matt here. Welcome back to another video. I think when it comes to credit cards, every time that I think about a credit card or somebody else getting a credit card, I always think about how they have the potential chance to get themselves in debt. And if you use credit cards the right way, they can be great for your life. They can be great for your family's life. But the issue is that there's a lot of people that get caught up in using credit cards the wrong way, whether they just get started or something happens and they get into a rut and all of this comes falling down and they really do everything. It starts compounding. The negative stuff starts compounding. So I wanted to take this time to protect any of the newer people that are into credit cards, that are starting to use credit cards, that are getting interest in credit cards, because I know it can be overwhelming for a lot of people to go into this game thinking that they're going to completely take control of everything because they see this person on the internet with 20 different cards, so they need 20 different cards. Well, let's slow your roll a little bit. Let's understand what are the risks and how you can protect yourself from getting into a horrible situation. So guys, if you could, make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for more videos like this one. Also, make sure you check out some of the links down below. It does help out the channel. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, on Patreon, those links should also be down below at some point. I don't know if they will be right now, but you can feel free to check those out. I do have a main channel. Just search Matthew Perry. You'll find my main channel if you're interested in investing and all that stuff. But let's talk about credit cards really quick, because I have tips for you guys. Again, I'm trying to protect you guys, and let's just jump right into the detail here. So my first tip for credit card users, right, would be to start with the lower end credit cards. A lot of people like to start with Amex Platinum, Amex Gold card, because they have the good credit in order to do so, right? And I know it's difficult to even do that because you need to set a lot of things up. And if you already had things established, like if your parents got everything established for you and you have a decent credit score, well, now you can actually get some of these other cards as long as you have a decent income. But it doesn't mean that you should. Just because you can get them doesn't mean that you should, because you may not have all of those categories or even have a reason to using that card, right? If you have to pay a $250 annual fee and then you can't really use all of the credits and use all of the different benefits, then what's the purpose of getting the card? Just for the prestige, just for how it looks and, the notoriety, all that other type of stuff, right? That's not what it's all about. You need to learn how to use credit cards and start with maybe a student credit card or a single category card that can help you out in the end. And then you can use that time in and time out and don't have to worry about, getting into a horrible situation. Because if you get into a situation where you have $500 worth of annual fees and you have no reason to even use all of those cards, but just get whatever credits they have and not even being able to use those credits, it's not a good situation for you. So start out with the lower end. Most people will be able to start out with the lower end, but, start out with a secured card, a student card, one category card or a select category card. I think you can go with that, and that would be very, very beneficial for you and everybody else that may live in your household as well. The next tip that I do have with you is start with one. It's kind of feeding off of that. Start with one card. Don't jump into 20 different cards. Again, there's people out here on YouTube that will say, I have 20 cards with $1 million worth of a credit line. And yeah, that's great. It sounds fantastic. And everybody wants to be at that level. So just in case you get in a situation, you have $1 million worth of a credit line, but it doesn't mean that you need to get yourself into that situation and overwhelm yourself with so many different credit cards when you're not used to it. So start with one credit card. Then when you get comfortable and you feel as though you can budget things the right way and know what cards to use in what category, then you can go ahead and get multiple cards. But don't go more than one, because that's how you forget about paying off bills and get yourself into maybe credit card debt because you forgot about that one that you owe $3,000 on that had a 0% APR that you decided to utilize, but 15 months later, you now have to pay it, right? So anyways, well, you still have to pay it, but either way, you're not paying interest on it. Now, the next bit of a tip that I do have for you guys is paying your statement balance. Paying your statement balance off in full every time ensures that you're not going to get into a horrible situation, ensures that you are not going to get into credit card debt. And I know as time goes on, especially even in the beginning, that's where they get you. They'll give you a 0% APR for 15 months or 18 months or 12 months or whatever, and you'll go and put in something, right? You'll put in something to your house, or you'll buy a new camera, or you'll buy a new computer, and you're like, I have 15 months to really pay it off so I can make the minimum payments without really accruing interest, and that's going to be great. Well, just understand that if you get to that point where you're like, I can give it a little bit, a couple more months afterwards, you're going to be paying all of this interest, within that period. So you have 29, a lot of them are 29.99%, 30% APR that you would have to pay if you get to that point to where you're not, you don't have that intro APR. So seriously, just pay off your credit card, especially if you're trying to establish credit. Like if you're in the beginning stages, you're trying to establish credit, pay off your credit card every single time, buy a pack of gum with it or whatever, and just establish your credit there. But if you are someone that already has established credit and you have like maybe a middle of the road card, pay off your balance every time. Don't let it get to that point. And if you need to, within the APR, the intro APR stage, if you need to, make sure you jot down and put in your calendar when you need to pay this off and what's the date to where the APR kicks in. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place and having a 30% APR in the end. And the last tip that I would have for you, I feel like it will help you out. There's a lot of tips that are out there. I feel like these are just great, but the last tip that I have for you is do not max out your credit card. As you have your first one that may have $1,000 on it or $3,000 of a credit line, it doesn't mean that you use $1,000 or $3,000 of that credit line. I say there's no more that you should use than 20%. A lot of people will say, hey, utilization should be below 5%. And we understand that. For the best credit score possible, if you're trying to get to an 800 and all of that stuff, you want to make sure that you have a low utilization while still utilizing the amount of credit or some of the amount of credit that you do have, right? But that doesn't really give you any room to be able to actually use it and, use it for your normal spending, especially if it covers a lot of categories. Like if you got the Amex Blue Cash Preferred card, and you decided to use it for groceries and you end up spending, $500 or $600, every single month on groceries for the family, then you need to be able to use that depending on how much you have in a credit line, right? If you have $1,000 in a credit line, you would be using 50%. Most likely they would give you a lot more if you are getting approved for that card. But if you do get approved to where 500 or however much you need to use, $1,000 ends up being, 20%, that's not going to break the bank. That's not going to break everything, but you don't want to max out the entire credit card every month because that gets you into that situation where it's like, well, I'll pay half now and pay half the next month. And you don't want to get into that, right? That's what gets into the back of your mind. So just protect yourself. There's a lot of different ways that you can protect yourself, but I feel like these are very beneficial for a lot of people. Anybody that's out there that's a new user, that's a middle of the road user, anybody that's experienced, I would say that you probably already know about this, but even the experienced ones sometimes get caught in these situations and just need a reminder. So hopefully these tips helped you. If they did, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for more of these videos. But I'm going to get out of here and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.